Welcome to Same Spit, Different Face TV. Well, my opinions is facts, and if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast. And it's free. So don't forget to spit on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification. If you clicked on this video to hear about Luigi Mangione, I need you to hit that like button. If you clicked on this video to hear about the Tate brothers leaving Romania, I need you to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Now, Spit Squad, the first thing we will talk about is the Tate brothers. Now, Andrew and Tristan Tate have officially been allowed to leave Romania after 2.5 years. Donald Trump reportedly pressured the Romanian government to lift travel restrictions on Andrew and Tristan Tate. Now, what you got to understand is that Andrew and Tristan Tate, now Andrew Tate is the bigger figure of all of them. Over the last few years, Andrew Tate has basically been similar to the black Kevin Samuel from the standpoint of he's been telling you, get your money in order, get in shape, go to the doctor. As a man, you should be able to defend yourself. And he was running a course where he was basically inviting men to like a warehouse, and he was kind of survival of the fittest type thing. Yo, you got to get in this boxing ring and fight whoever we put you in here with. And he's basically talking and telling men they should have backbone and be back to being man, all of that stuff, right? Whether you agree with him or not, the results of his life is proof that these things work. And they at least work for him, right? And it works through discipline and hard work. Now, do I agree with everything Andrew Tate say? No. Well, what ends up happening with this situation is that they started to basically say that the women Andrew Tate was managing, and you can put that in air quotations however you want, those women eventually started to get upset. Now, we know sometimes in life that when a guy stopped dealing with a woman may come back and she'll have a revisionist history of how things went between them. So one night y'all may have got into it and you may have actually just politely told her, hey, get out my house. Well, when she ends up telling that story, you yelled at her and you were acting crazy, all that type of stuff. Now, this is some of the things that started to happen to Andrew Tate. Women who he essentially had respect, I don't want to say respectable, but who he had mutual relationships with, women that he never had any fallouts with. Later, after the internet started to come to him and cancel him for being a alleged misogynist and all of those things, it started to be more pressure placed on the Romanian government to get him from human GPSing. So when you look at that situation, they tried to say that he was human GPSing women and it was against their will. Now, when he shows some of the work and he shows some of the filing, it's basically shown that, yo, these women were working for him on their own will and own merit, and he was basically just managing them. He wasn't like pimping them out. Now, could it be seen as a possibility of pimping? It depends on which way you're looking at it from. And I don't know all the details in it, so I don't want to get into that. I'm just giving y'all the backstory. Well, Andrew Tate was taken into custody, and like I said, over there, it's not like here where you have a bond hearing and you're allowed to be out and you can only be detained for a little bit amount of time. Like over there, they can almost detain you indefinitely and then find charges and charge you for it. Where here, they can only hold you for a certain amount of time. I think it's 72 hours without actually filing charges. Then they have to let you go. So they ended up seizing his assets. They ended up seizing his computers. They ended up seizing his cars, freezing his bank accounts. And basically, as they were going through these raids of him, they weren't finding anything. So eventually they ended up having to let him go. And then they ended up doing another raid where they tried to bring something else against him. And they eventually ended up not finding anything else. And in my personal opinion, I believe this is one of them situations where you sit in the media attention and you sully this person's name up and you muddy this person's name. And once you do that, by the time you find whatever the smallest thing is, you able to take it to trial. You have a tainted jury pool if you're the prosecutor. And now you put all these things together that may be circumstantial, but you make them look like fact because you've dragged his name through the media for the last 2 years, 3 years. The longer a trial takes to go to trial, the longer, the more headlines that come and the more your name is dragged in the dirt. A side note, we saw Tory Lanez go through a trial where his name was in the news almost every day, if not every week until his trial started. And that's how they do you when they don't like you or when you the lesser famous person or when the government is going against you. On the other hand, when we look at ASAP Rocky case, we didn't hear any updates about it. People wasn't saying he was going to jail. People wasn't saying he was going to trial. People wasn't saying he was bogus for shooting his friend. And part of that is him tied to being tied to Rihanna. But the reason I mention that is because when it's time for them people to get you, if they really want you, they're going to pull out all the tricks to try to get you. And so they pulled out all the tricks to try to get Andrew Tate. Now, when I look at this situation, Trump would have had to step in. Do Trump know who Andrew Tate is? I'm sure he does. If he don't, I'm sure his son know who he is. We've seen Donald Trump on Joe Rogan. We know Joe Rogan know who Andrew Tate is. Elon Musk would know who Andrew Tate is. So when you look at this situation, it would definitely be one of those moments where Andrew Tate has openly supported Donald Trump, so Donald Trump would want somebody on his side like that, somebody who has influence over the youth and the younger demographic of males from the age of like 20, maybe even 18 to like 35. And why is that important? Those are the ages of males who mobilize. What is mobilize? You able to get out in the streets. You able to knock on doors. You able to kick ass if you need to. So I think that's one of the situations that Donald Trump sees value in Andrew Tate. And that's why he moved to get Andrew Tate out. It wasn't so much that Donald Trump was like, oh, Andrew Tate is such an injustice, which I do believe is an injustice. Now, side note, once again, I'm not saying that he didn't do something. I'm not saying that they didn't have cause to hold him. I'm not saying anything to that standpoint, but I'm saying it's clear that his rights were violated and he wasn't being given a fair chance to prove his innocence. Now, a lot of times when we see things like this happen to people that a lot of people don't like, they don't care. They allow their rights to be violated and they don't speak out. But what ends up happening in life, man, is going to eventually be your turn. And if you let them violate one person, what's going to stop them from violating you when it's your turn? Now, let's talk about the boy Luigi. Now, if y'all don't know, Luigi is the guy who allegedly killed the CEO. And I think when people talk about Luigi, they need to tread lightly when they're doing these videos and not say he killed somebody, not say he murdered somebody, especially if you have a big platform, because you could be up for a defamation lawsuit within the next year or two. I think this is one of those type of trials like Kyle Rittenhouse where Luigi can actually walk free. It's a couple of things that ended up happening that is bad for the police officer. So one thing is that when they allegedly found him inside of the McDonald's, they ended up talking to him and they were asking him a bunch of questions without reading him his Miranda rights. So he talked to him, he said a bunch of things, and then I don't know if it was like after 2 hours or an hour, whatever that was, they finally read him his Miranda rights. And to what I've been told, all he said was lawyer. And so what that means is everything that he said to you before his Miranda rights cannot be used if I'm correct about that, right? If I'm correct about that, it can't be used. And that's why a lot of times when you pull up and the police ask you what happened and they assess the situation, they read you your rights. Yo, anything you can say will be used against you, da 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 da, that type of stuff. Now, the other thing I think is before they read you your Miranda rights, if you volunteer a statement, that's different than them doing an investigation and asking you a question. And a lot of times they like to let you talk at first just to get your story out. And then they come back and use a trained way of questioning in order to see the discrepancies in what you told them at first. So it's always, whether it's a small situation, a big situation, whatever it is, it's always good to keep your answers as short as possible, say as least as possible. And if you feel like they're trying to jam you up or you don't feel comfortable, just say, hey, I want to speak to my lawyer about this situation, whatever that may be. Now, the other issue is that his backpack was seized by the police, searched by the police, and then when it was brought back to the actual police department, they found a gun in it. Now, why is that a problem? Because if you found a gun inside of that bag, what you were supposed to do, you were supposed to lay everything out. You were supposed to took a picture of it. You were supposed to not move anything. You were, in my personal opinion, you were supposed to have your body cam on when you were searching them, or you were supposed to bring somebody else in there to corroborate this, or you were supposed to tape that part off and say, hey, we're not moving any of this stuff. Look, this is what I found inside of his bag. Let's take pictures of it before we repack this bag. And the problem with them, maybe they found a gun at first, and it could be a possibility that the officer was just trying to do his job discreetly. He went inside the bag. He allegedly found a gun. He said, you know what? Instead of shaking up all these people that's inside of this McDonald's, instead of calling a ruckus or having people be scared or fearful, I'm just going to put this gun back in the bag, not make a fuss about it, take it down to the police department, unpack it again, and we'll still find the same gun. Well, what's the problem with that? Sounds like the officer is being reasonable, right? Wrong. Well, the problem with that is that we don't know if you put that gun inside of there because you never documented finding a gun at the scene. So where did this gun come from? Did you find this gun somewhere else? Did you find this gun laying on the ground somewhere in New York and then you brought it with you when you heard he was spotted there? So, man, I'm telling y'all, I'm being honest with y'all. Be very careful about how you speak about this guy Luigi, because the thing is, if the judge rules that that was improper handling of evidence, they're not going to be able to present that gun in court. They're not going to be able to present evidence that they found that gun in his book bag. Now, what they could do to maybe circumvent that, they can go back to the McDonald's cameras and basically show if the officer pulled it out and he actually saw the gun, but he tucked it back away because he didn't want to startle everybody. Now, then maybe they can bring that in as evidence that, yo, this gun was in there as soon as he found it. Here's a camera. This is the unedited footage. And then they'll have that officer come on the stand and they'll ask the officer, hey, what did you do? What happened? Is that you on that video? Yes, that's me. Did you find a gun in that book bag? Yes, I found a gun. Why didn't you take that gun out and take a picture of it and show it to people when you found it? And the officer can walk through and say, well, you know, I was in a packed place. It was a McDonald's. It was the middle of the day. It was children around, or it was a lot of elderly people around, or it was just a lot of regular citizens around. I didn't want to do anything that would startle anybody or disrupt the flow of the evening inside of that McDonald's more than we already had. It's so many different things that he can get on stand and say if they have a video from that McDonald's. So we'll just see how this situation goes. But to be honest with you, the people are on Luigi's side. And not only are the people on Luigi's side, the media is on Luigi's side. And this is a dangerous stance to take, because you create vigilantes like this. Luigi is loved. Luigi is getting women looking for him, trying to talk to him, trying to marry him, pen pals. He got people donating money to him. And what ends up happening when you popularize or make people like this famous is other people who may start doing this type of things just out of a vigilante. Now, I'm not saying that Luigi isn't a vigilante, because I believe he is, but he did his under the premise of, yo, they cut off my mom's insurance. She ended up dying from that. She really needed it. They cut it off at the last minute. We played insurance all these years. Our payments, they were never late. All the etc. Right? And now he's doing it out of anger. He's doing it out of emotion. I don't agree with what he did, but I'm sure a lot of people, well, we've seen the media. A lot of people understand what he did. So you can create somebody else who has no skin in the game, who could just say, yo, I don't like the CEO of XYZ company. I'm going to go out here and kill him, and I'm going to be martyred just like Luigi, and people going to love me just like Luigi. And I think a lot of people don't understand this, man. I see a lot of women saying that Luigi is handsome. I hear a lot of media people talking about, yo, he's well spoken. He's from a good background. He has a degree. He dressed well. He looks nice. So a lot of people don't understand the way you look and the way you're perceived, the way you put together, that also plays a role. So if one of you trailer park looking people or one of you hood looking people think that y'all just gonna go get away with hit popping a CEO and everybody gonna rally behind you, it's not gonna be the same. Honestly, Luigi and the Luigi prototype is probably the only people who can get away with something like this. And his family have money, so he's able to get one of the best lawyers, or his family came from money. It's something prestige about his family. I can't remember right now, but if you want more updates on the Tate brothers, hit the subscribe button. If you want more updates on the Luigi story, hit the subscribe button. And if you want more updates on hip hop, celebrity news, or political news, important political news, because I don't do all political news, hit the subscribe button. And if you made it this far in the video, why not just hit the like button? At least drop a comment and let me know if you don't like something I said. Check out my original Chicago hood movie in the end screen, No Time to Play Fair. If you into sneakers, you a sneakerhead, you love seeing the new Jordans, Pumas, whatever it may be, subscribe to Kicking It with Fairplay 2333. If you trying to follow me on my basketball journey, my weightlifting and fitness journey, and also be inspired to get back on your fitness journey, subscribe to Fairplay, Flex, and Fadeaway. Also, any of these pages I just named, you can also find them on TikTok or Instagram.